Hello, my fellow readers. It is I, Dark Symphony 777, with the Fanfiction review. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts on the story, and finally, this is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, the story I'm doing today is a trilogy, sort of, kind of the Princess to Princess stories. It is a 3-part Mario quotation marks written by Blasto's X4. Now, the reason I do quotation marks is, despite the fact it's classified as a Mario fanfiction, it's not really a Mario fanfiction. It's actually a Mario / Zelda crossover. And I believe the reason why the author didn't put it in the crossover section was, I think the author completely didn't know how to do it to put it in the crossover section. Yeah, that's a little trivia for you. So, I remember reading the story a long time ago. For those who don't know, when I first started reading, I read a lot of Mario fanfiction. That's kind of why I have a lot of Mario fanfictions. And I read a lot of Mario fanfictions, and this is one of them that I kind of liked. That I did remember liking for some reason, and I went back and I read it, and it's yeah, I still like it for the most part. We'll get to that extra stuff near the end, but before we get to that, we need to talk about what is the plot about. Well, the plot actually stars Bowser and Ganondorf deciding to work together to basically take over the Mushroom Kingdom as well as Hyrule, and get Mario and Link out of the way so that way they have nothing to stop them. The first 2 chapters is basically them enacting that, with Bowser managing to kidnap Peach for one of his schemes, but he's deliberately did it to say, "No, I did it because I want Mario here. Fucking kill him." What? Yeah. I said that right, Princess. I said that right, Princess. Mario shows up, Bowser and Low and Green Stash, in Bowser's words, "Mario! Green Stash! Hi! I don't know who you are, don't mind me." They fight. Mario gets taken care of. He kind of gets knocked out. Luigi apparently died, but he kind of just shrugged it off oh, I bet Mario just beat Bowser. I'm going home then. And he's about to kill Peach when she falls off a cliff and disappears. And Bowser all right, she's dead. She ain't surviving that. In Hyrule, on the other hand, the same thing more or less happens. Ganondorf wages a massive, unexpected attack on Hyrule Castle. Zelda kind of calls to the question "How are you still alive?" And I'm sorry if I yawned. It's 11 at night, and I want to get this out of the way. Ganondorf calls into complete legitimate logic. And it's well, Link defeated me in the future, but this was me in the present, so therefore I'm still alive. And I actually read that, and it's wait a minute, that actually makes a lot of sense, because this is Ocarina of Time Ganondorf, and you do technically kill him in the future. So because they're the whole present time and then future time sort of shenanigans. And it's oh, okay. So you have okay, you beat Link, kills Ganondorf in the future time, but doesn't kill him in the present time, which honestly just makes my head hurt thinking about that logic. But anyway, Ganondorf manages to chase Zelda. They manage to get to the Zelda runs to the Forest of the Lost. Ganondorf manages to get to her and opens a portal so that way he can get his hands on the Triforce of Wisdom. However, before he's able to get her into the portal, Saria, the Sage of the Forest, manages to use her magic to kind of interfere with the portal and mess up where Zelda's going to land. So when he throws her in, she doesn't get thrown into where he wants her to go. She gets thrown out where Peach more or less is, which is near Darkland. Instead of Dark World, she ends up in Darkland. And Peach and Zelda do eventually meet. They do eventually. Peach takes Zelda to back to the Mushroom Kingdom because Bowser is going to have some shit about Zelda, Peach is dead. Don't have to worry about that. They meet the rest of the Mushroom Kingdoms, realizing that Zelda realizes no one in the Mushroom Kingdom even knows how to remotely fight. So it's like, oh, there's a problem. Because now Bowser is basically marching on taking over the entire Mushroom world. They do have a sort of stand for a bit at the Mushroom Castle and Toad Town and stuff like that. However, because of the fact that Toads don't really know how to fight, they kind of get overwhelmed pretty easily. Except for the Master, he kind of holds his own and all that. And Mario and Zelda and Peach, they managed to eventually be able, thanks to the help of Gino, get onto a plane and fly all the way to Isle Delfino, where they then have to deal with Wendy Koopa, who's trying to take over that area on behalf of Bowser. They do eventually beat her back, and they say her there's a lot of shenanigans that happens with the great fairies incorporating the fairies from Zelda into the Mario world and their subcon and all that. And the plot kind of just meanders along in this story until they eventually get to Sarazar Land, where they're picked up by Princess Daisy. And Daisy, instead of being normal, rational, she's just completely insane off her rocker. The first thing she does is I want to show you around Sarazar Land. Why? Because I am sick and tired of only going to the Mushroom Kingdom and you're never coming to my kingdom. I want to show you around. Here, take this. Here's some clothing for my country. But this is nice. I kind of like this. Hey, all right, now let's go party. What? Drink, 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 drink. Take it off. And then Daisy's slowly taking off her shirt, and then it gets cut off for modesty, and Daisy's like, well, give it a couple hours. So they'll probably edit it. They'll probably put it up unedited online. And she even has a blog where she's making fun of all embarrassing stuff about Peach because she gets Zelda and Peach drunk, and then they kind of make out, drunk and make out, and it's like, oh, this is saucy. Oh god, dang, Daisy's so goofy in this story. Eventually, Bowser manages to get the force in order to attack Beer. What's the name? Right here, Beer Budo, and they managed. And Daisy, thanks to the help of Elvin Gad, gets a portal set up to get Zelda home. However, because of the attack, Peach kind of has to go with her, and it falls apart before they're able to before Daisy and Luigi and Dino are able to join them into Hyrule, which kind of leaves the first act on a cliffhanger. That's kind of the neat thing with this plot is there's technically 3 stories. There's Unlikely Allies, Sage Arrival, and Her Shining Majesty, but it's all one long story. It's not they're individual stories. Instead, the author decided to go with an unconventional route and have each of these stories represent an act. And I think that's actually really clever, separating each act into its own stories. That way, they're meant to be read back to back to back. There's this is just a sequel. Sage Revival is just a sequel to Unlikely Allies. No. They're literally the one long continuous plot. They're just split over 3 stories because the author's trying to do a 3-act system. Come Sage Arrival. They end up in between worlds, between the Mushroom Kingdom and Hyrule. They meet a guy named Fate. And Fate's completely confused over the whole situation. Alright, you're finally here, Mario, Link. I'll help you. What the fuck are you 2 doing here? What do you mean what we're doing here? No. What are you literally you 2 doing here? You, points to Zelda, you're supposed to be captured. And you, points to Peach, you're supposed to be dead. Where are Mario and Link? Captured. Holy shit, what the fuck? What the fuck did I miss? Yeah. What the hell am I gonna do? Fate says, "All right, we gotta have to work with what we got. Instead of getting two heroes, I got the damsels. I don't have to make it work." He gives them the skinny on what's happening in Hyrule. Basically, all the sages, which are Saria, Sage of Forest, Daruna, Sage of Fire, Ruto, Sage of Water, Impa, Sage of Darkness, and Naboru, Sage of Spirit, all went completely mad. Aru is kind of like not infected because he's kind of like outside the kind like some weird shenanigans because he's like the Sage of Time, so he's like unaffected what's going on. But apparently, two people who look suspiciously like Peach and Zelda went around and basically kind of tortured them. Especially like the worst one was Saria, where they basically tortured her by making her dream where she's being attacked, and she's trying to call out. Saria's trying to call out for Zelda, but Zelda's not doing anything because she's too busy riding Link's 12-inch. You know. And then and Zelda's just glaring. It's like, this is mine. This is my Link. My Linky. And it's like really creepy. Really, really creepy. So they eventually go. They head to Lon Lon Ranch, or now it's being called Lon Lon Tavern, which is being operated by Mal and the rest of them, and being like bartered by Gerudos because they're like the only one. They're like the only people kind of still sane in the world. And they get help from the Gerudos to kind of deal with all this situation. So they do eventually they end up having to kill the sages, with the exception of Naboru, mainly because it looked like the madness that conquered them is all focused towards Zelda. So it's like, oh, Zelda killed this person. Like with Daria, it was his son, and with Ruto, it was her father. And with Saria, it's like, you had a dream where you killed me while having sex with Link. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. I saw your face. And Naboru's kind of unaffected by the whole thing because she was completely disconnected from Zelda, so she kind of had her focus on trying to absorb enough spirit to take on Ganondorf and stuff like that. And then there's some other sages that they have to revive, where Malin, the little milk girl who helps with the tavern, is now the new Sage of Life, who can literally bring back the deck anytime. And then her mother was the one who explained it, and then it's like, wait, I'm the Sage of what? You're the Sage of Life. You can bring back people without like their body, and like so. And Malin's first thing is like to revive her mom. It's like, oh, this is unexpected. Huggies. And they have a family hug and have family time, and then she kind of gets separated from Zelda's body because they were specifically told not to kill the sages. However, Sheik is kind of like a yandere in this fic, being like overly protective of Peach to the point where like, oh, you touch her, you die. And they even find out like Link's went missing. Ganondorf still has him. And there's a whole thing. There's like a whole thing where Link, quote unquote, marries Zelda. Turns out it's Dark Link, and then Dark Link literally rapes Zelda, and she's completely comatose over the whole thing. And like Peach has to handle it. Like, oh, you put your hand. We're having words, Dark Link. What are you gonna do? Hiya! Oh, you're gonna sword fight me. It's like, oh no, I died. That's even better in like story where Zelda, like Peach is so full of life, she basically kills Dark Link by like kissing him. Like, the light burns, and he dies from that. They're getting sit on because now at this point, Peach's ass is like a WMD. But they eventually do cure. They do defeat all of the sages, with the exception of Naboru. They cure her, and then they revive a bunch of the other sages, which all coincidentally are all mothers. There's the Sage of Life, who was Malin's mother, but she kind of gave the power to Malin. There was the Sage of Death, who was Zelda's mother, who's just kind of like a bitch. There was the Sage of Wind, Sage of Earth, who was Link's mom for some reason. And then there's Sage of Ice, which was Ruto's mother. And they kind of Malin kind of revives them all, and Peach heals them and all that. They kind of help them infiltrate and assault Ganondorf's castle, and they do eventually. They aid out with that to kind of stall. They kind of help stall everything out. Well, Zelda, and then eventually Geno gets involved because now Geno managed to get his way into Hyrule. Geno, Zelda, and also Navi. She's like in the process of becoming a great fairy herself. At this point, Peach is kidnapped by Ganondorf, realizing you're completely expendable. We need Zelda, but we don't really need you, so we're just gonna kill you. Ganondorf infests Peach with and poisons her with dark matter, which slowly kills her because it's nullifying her light magic, her innate light magic. And then we get to the climax of Sage Revival, which has Geno and Zelda throwing everything they can at Ganondorf. Nothing works because he has this reflective armor, and any attack they kind of throw at him, it just kind of deflects everywhere and ha ha. And they literally throw everything at him, like Geno Whirls and Geno Beams and Shiny Rays, and even the Light Arrow just does nothing against them. So in an act of desperation, Zelda pulls out, gets the Fierce Deity mask because the Happy Mask salesman was actually in the arena at the time. He was dead, but she found the mask. She's gonna try and summon the deity. Geno completely turns on Zelda. It's I let you do that. However, Zelda manages to convince Geno because they literally have no choice but to do this because Ganondorf's kicking their ass so hard. They summon the deity. The deity completely curb stomps Ganondorf, completely shatters the armor. It's yep, you're dead. Ganondorf manages to get away. And Zelda begs the deity to please help us. The deity's Geno's there's always a catch with this guy. The deity, however, decides, I'm going to actually listen, because Zelda's mom is literally the only person left alive who's still following the deity's kind of belief system. So it's as sort of a thank you for your mom being the only person who still worships me, I will help you somehow. One of three ways. One, I just go away because I'm an old god and my time has already passed. So it's I'm just gonna leave. No if, no buts, no catches or anything like that. But Peach still dies because Peach is dying at this point. They're literally right over Peach's dying body when they're discussing this. Peach dies, and your job to defeat Bowser and Ganondorf is going to be much harder. Number two, I will go and I will fix everything by myself. I will deal with Bowser. I will deal with Ganondorf. I will deal with whoever's in my way and take it out. It's yay! Geno's going what's the cat? We know what's the catch. All right. If I do this, everyone who has light-based eyes. Oh, that doesn't include Peach, right? So that definitely includes Peach. I'm going to revive her, and then I'm going to kill her. And I will kill everyone. Anyone who even has a ghost of a chance to possibly defeat me, they're going to die. I will make sure to kill them. And there's nothing anyone can do to stop me. You said there's a third choice? Third choice. I simply cure Peach, and then I leave. However, from a time, I will not tell you when, I will not tell you how long it'll be down the line, but there'll become a day where Peach will become the vessel of an ancient demon who is woken up after 1,000-year rest and become her vessel in order to cover the world in darkness. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And that'll be the only thing you have to worry about. Got you? Zelda, of course, goes with the third idea because it's the only one that where Peach actually survives. So basically, what he does, he floats up Peach, he holds his sword up, points out, and just stabs her in the stomach. There we go, you're done. She's cured. They go. They get Gino gets Peach and Zelda to go back to the Mushroom Kingdom, where we get to the third act, where we get a whole bunch of shenanigans. First off, Hyrule's completely done. The rest of the story is just going to take place in the Mushroom Kingdom. They eventually make their way back to the Mushroom Kingdom. They get hard stopped by the Hyrulean goddesses Feyor, Din, and Naru. I forgot what Din, Feyor, and Naru. Naru or something like that. It's the water one. The water chick. I can't remember her name. They kind of got stopped by. It's all right, there you go. We'll just let you on your way. But they leave a hint towards the fact that if they want to help stop Bowser and Ganondorf, they have to find a person named the Wanderer. Now, who is the Wanderer? Well, it's Peach's mom, who turns out to have been a person who has lived for a really, really long time, and is also so monstrously powerful, she can literally just hard stop armies by herself. Entire massive armies. She apparently stopped a massive war in Hyrule before the events of Ocarina of Time. She took down an entire army in Sarazar land from a crooked dictator who was trying to take over the world in the name of Easton. She killed so many people, and then she just randomly disappeared. And so their first goal and the first half of the story is Peach and Zelda eventually slowly trying to make their way to find Peach's mom, because they think, well, this is literally the only person we have who might be able to help us. On the way, they get lots of help from Princess Daisy, because Sarazar land is quite literally the only force large enough to be able to hold their own against Bowser. Everywhere else has been more or less taken care of. Well, everywhere else that's important. And I actually want to give this author credit for this, is I honestly think, because I'm not 100% sure on this, so correct me if I'm wrong, I believe to this day, Princess to Princess is the only fan fiction that has any sort of world building focused on Sarazar land. It's kind of surprising, when you think of Princess Daisy, okay, what do you think of, what do you know about Princess Daisy, canonically? She's just a princess. She's a princess of Sarazar land. Okay, do you know anything about Sarazar land? No, because even Nintendo, whenever Daisy shows up, it's she's just the princess of Sarazar land. It's do you know that Daisy is the princess of Sarazar land? It's oh no, you didn't. No, you told. That's the 8th time you told me. You want to say it again? Yes, because it's literally the only thing anyone knows of her. And so and even in fan fiction, whenever Daisy shows up, she's always in the Mushroom Kingdom. She's never. There's just next to nothing on any sort of anything to do with Sarazar land. So I think it's honestly kind of refreshing that even if it's the only restricted to the third story, there is actual world building for Sarazar land itself. Well, because consider the fact based on what people think, Sarazar land is unanimously considered the largest sort of empire, continent sort of deal, or landmass in the entire mushroom world. And the other thing people differentiate itself is how big it is. Some people say it's only slightly bigger. than Darkland, because Darkland is like actually canonically bigger than like the Mushroom Kingdom and stuff like that. Like, oh, it's like slightly bigger than Darkland, but like people like even say like it's like takes up like a fourth of a mushroom world because that's how big it is. So it's like it's really interesting. And I really like that in Shining Majesty when so much of the like a large part is focused on like on world building for a place that like no one really ever deals with the plot. Of course, you have the first half, which is basically just Zelda, Peach, and also kind of sort of Daisy and Gino kind of helping them get to the Wanderer, and then when that inevitably fails because the Wanderer is kind of like in like a prison of her own design, she can't really leave. Like, and even like the implication, like she's traveled to like all like other Nintendo worlds, like it just wandered, as the name the Wanderer. The second half is literally just them setting up like the end game for them to eventually do a grand assault on Bowser and Ganondorf's fortress, while like figuring out something that's going on with like the Zelda and Peach clones now named Moral and Drow, and like something about an oath and all these rules that were slowly being broken over the course of the trilogy. Is like if all of them are broken, like something really bad is going to happen, which actually happens at the end where they break the last one, which was the Triforce cannot be complete, cannot be like combined together, which does happen, and Ganondorf kind of dies because of that. Where they run into like the big bad who manipulated the entire thing, which was Peach's grandmother of all things, and she's like a seraph, and she's like an angel. It's like, oh no, Peach, you're an angel too. Like literally, you're just an angel. Yeah, you work for God. I work for God. I work for God. I work for God too. No, but no. In actuality, in the mushroom world, I am God. And basically, her plan is just kill anyone associated with like evil. Like even if like they even if they're like no like she kills half of the Sarazorland and army simply because they happen to be related to like Bowser and like the Koopa Troop. Despite the fact they're actually on the side of good. But because their species is like related to the Koopa Troop, they die too. And like the final battle is just basically them trying to stop Emperor Shine from getting enough power and killing the Shadow Queen, thus kind of avoiding the whole deal with the deity and possibly killing everyone and committing like mass genocide and all that. And Peach just eventually, Peach more or less saves the day because like rules and regulations, like Peach is like the only one who has like enough power to even remotely damage Emperor Shine and stuff like that. And the story just kind of actually more ends on a humorous note where all the girls from Zelda who like fell in love with Link, they basically tell Link, pick one. Who are you dating? And he picks Zarya because Zarya like the one you're like there. Like, oh, okay, that's fine. And I think that's more or less the plot. It's more kind of technical than that, but that's like the main gist of the plot. Now, do I think it's a good plot? Okay. So I'm going to spoil my general thoughts of the story right here because I kind of need to talk about this. Because this is like the big elephant in this fanfiction. This Unlikely Allies is a horrible story. It's incredibly bad. But Sage Revival and her Shining Majesty are actually really good. So basically you have Act 2 and Act 3 be like hard carrying the trilogy because Act 1 is just that bad. Like it's astounding how bad Unlikely Allies to the point where Sage Revival feels more like an Act 1 than the actual Act 1. So, you're wondering, what am I talking about? Well, in a 3-act story, you want to always kind of have your best foot forward. Like, put your best foot forward when it comes to showcasing an Act 1 of a 3-act story, because if the Act 1 doesn't succeed, then the entire trilogy just kind of falls apart, because Act 1 needs to deliver the characters, the pacing, any like all the specific plot lines, any themes you're trying to establish. All, Act 1 has to carry the workload, regardless of what the quality of the other two acts are. If Act 1 specifically does not deliver, then you're done. Then there's nothing you can really do. And this is pretty much what happened here. Act Act 2 and Act 3 are good. They are actually good stories. But Act 1 is such a horrendously paced and poorly written disaster that I can't defend that. It's very rushed. Peach and Zelda don't really have much of a either. They don't really have a dynamic, nor do they really have a character arc. Because guess what? That dynamic and the character arc, that doesn't happen until Act 2. Okay, what about plot threads? Okay, it kind of hints towards the Wanderer, but it's so vague, because it's just a single mention of like a statue, because they end up in like a dark forest near Boo House, and there's a statue of the Wanderer outside, but they never actually draw attention. But like outside of like a single sentence, it's not really brought up again. Well, outside of 2 sentences, because the first time Zelda sees it, it's like just kind of has her head down, the hood down, and then when they escape the Boo House, she looks at the statue again. It's actually starting to cry. There's actually tears coming down the statue, which is it's something, but it's really not enough to kind of draw the plot line of the Wanderer, because again, that plot line doesn't start until Act 2, and even then, that plot line literally just ends in a foreshadowing, which honestly I think is just really stupid. Like, you don't have a plot line that covers half of this story and is implied throughout this story, like all throughout this story. Like, they're building the Wanderer up for something big. What is the end result of the Wanderer thing? Oh, the foreshadowing that Peach is a literal angel. Of all the things, of all the things to foreshadow, like if it foreshadowed who like the big villain is, like okay, the villain is like Peach's grandmother. All right, that might be worth the plot line. Not with how much it's built up, but it's like, all right, I can kind of see where they're going for, kind of foreshadowing who like the big bad who's manipulating everything behind the scenes. Because Peach's grandmother was literally manipulating quite literally everything behind the scenes, so that way she can escape. All right, I can at least buy it, but instead it's a foreshadowing to what Peach truly is. Because all right, she's not a human, she's part toad, but what is she? Oh, she's what's called a prosperity, and she's the daughter of her, and Wanda, her mother, is a power, and Princess Shine is like a seraphim and stuff like that. And it's just so weird, and it's like a really weird letdown, because it's just like, okay, implying that Peach is an actual angel who works for God. It's kind of like, for that amount of buildup, that's not worth it. That's not worth it. All right. Anything else to do with plotline? Well, there is the blood plotline, which is again something that's not really brought up and is not really brought into attention until Act 3, until again Act 2. What do I mean by this? Well, all throughout Zelda senses something is like weirdly amiss whenever there's like a big fight scene that happens. She's like, well, people die, people kind of get the cuts off and chewed up and all that. But she doesn't know. But she's always sensing something amiss whenever she sees these sorts of fights, and she doesn't even realize it until they end up in Hyrule. It's like, wait a minute, all those Mushroom Kingdom characters, they never bled, because she notices like when all the people dying, like um, they like all the people in Hyrule, they have like blood and stuff like that, and even like, and it turns out Princess Peach actually has hemophobia, the fear of blood, because she's like completely freaking out at the sight of it, and she's just completely like she's like wondering like why is there no blood in the Mushroom Kingdom, and then of course it only comes into play here at the near the very beginning, when like after the deity kind of stabs Peach's stomach, it's trying to like it's curious trying to flush out the dark matter in the system. In order to do that, she needs to puke it out. And so when like Bowser's troops and like the Saracen forces are about to square off because Peach is like in the middle, she starts vomiting like a ton of blood, and she nearly passes out from blood loss because she like, imagine you have two forces that are both from Mushroom Kingdom. They don't know what blood is. They don't see anything. They see Peach in the middle, and then she just vomits a ton of blood, and promptly both sides just start freaking out and saying it's a curse, and they both skedaddle out of there. But again, that doesn't really. I mean, that's slightly better than the Wander plotline, but it's not enough to kind of justify the rushed idea. I mean, there's also Sarzarland being like a big military force, but that's not really come into play until the third story, because outside of Geno in Sage Revival, there's like no other Mario characters that appear in that story. It's all Zelda characters, with the exception of Peach and Geno. That's literally it. Um, any other things? Nothing. It's just like it's so it's so confusing how horror this story is, when Sage Revival just does everything in Act One. What this should have been, this was, which kind of shows why I like Sage Revival, to the point where these two stories feel like completely different stories than Unlikely Allies. That's 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 less to do with them being good and more to do with this being bad. Like that's horrendous. It's so off. Like, I can't justify Unlikely Allies because it's just how rushed it is. Because like trying to rush through everything just, and I get why the author wants to rush through everything, because the author is trying to get them to Sarzarland as fast as possible. At the very least, the author is just trying to pad out everything before they get to Sarzarland, because that's ultimately the reason why the story is rushed, because you need this, because you're trying to set up the third story with Sarzarland and all that. But there are better ways to do it that involve this story being written much better. That's just what it is. So that's really it with the plot. Characters. I will say this with the characters: there is first off, there is actually a very important theme in the story, the theme of motherhood. So basically, a lot of like maternal stuff is like carried as a theme throughout the entire trilogy. More so these two, because Peach kind of becomes a surrogate mother to Zelda. The clone Zelda and Peach, Drow and Mortal, they become good people because they actually get pregnant. So now they're becoming mothers. Half the sages that they revive are all mothers. There's Zelda's mom, Link's mom, Malon's mom, although she's not a she's not a sage anymore when she revives. There's Ruto's mom, and then there was Fado, who's actually pregnant as well. So she kind of became, she was like already a sage. She was just a pregnant. Like even Zelda kind of draws attention. It's like, it's like all these sages are mothers. What about Fado? Are you a mother? It's like, no, not yet. And she's rubbing her tummy. It's like, oh. um, there's a heavy emphasis on the Wanderer, who's Peach's mom. Uh, there is Empress Shine, whose entire motive for doing what she does at the end of the story was specifically because she was really pissed that her daughter wants to become a mother. Um, there, there's so much of the theming of motherhood, because there's even like a chapter in the third story where Daisy like trying to figure out which Peach and Zelda are the clones, and she's like, all right, what about the pregnancy test? It's like, are you just doing this for your blog? Maybe, but it's also important. What are the pregnancy tests? Like, one of them might be pregnant. All right, you four, which one of you is pregnant? And Peach is like, me, possibly me. Why? I've been feeling cramps. I've been going to the bathroom a lot. It's like, you're pregnant. All right. All right, then. It's so weird. And then Zelda's like wondering, it's like, oh, I might be pregnant too because she got raped by Darkling. So it's like she's worried that she might be carrying her kid. And then Peach is like, I'm gonna take you somewhere special so we can deal with this. It's like Planned Parenthood. An abortion? The hell's an abortion? And then Peach just leaves. No, an abortion clinic would have a gynecologist. And like Peach leaves like completely upset. It's like, I'm not pregnant. It's just the virus flushing itself out of my system. It's like, I'm just glad I'm not pregnant from what happened. There's like so much in terms of this theme, like, and those are like the ones I just popped into my head. But there's more in terms of like the subtle theme of motherhood. I really like that theme. Going with Peach and Zelda, they have that motherhood. They have the dynamic of Peach acting as like a surrogate mother to Zelda because Zelda grew up without her mom because her mom's kind of a bitch, and so while they act like good friends, there is a subtle current of Zelda kind of becoming in her own and kind of growing as a person, thanks to Peach interacting with Peach and kind of encouraging her to become a better person. And acting as like a motherly figure towards Zelda to kind of have her accept her mistakes that she's kind of having to. Because unlike Peach, who's like used to kind of getting kidnapped, she's rolling through the punches and stuff like that. Zelda hasn't really learned those lessons, so she's kind of learning as she goes along, and she's learning it thanks to Peach, he's kind of easier through like all this stuff. And then you have Peach, who's more or less a pacifist, who really doesn't want to hurt people, but then she realized over the course of the story she kind of has to at least hurt people. Like she still tries to avoid killing people, but she's more willing to at least kind of incapacitate people as if she can. And they bounce off each other really well. Again, this is more a thing that this establishes, as well as their character arcs of Zelda kind of coming into her own as like an actual princess, and Peach kind of growing wiser and having to realize that you can't over rely on like being a pacifist, stuff like that. You need to actually be like active and reactive and stuff like that to like what's going on and understand like the consequences of like war and stuff like that. And they basically grow as people. Like I think they're really done. Fine. Bowser and Ganondorf, they're fine. They're solid villains. Empress Shine is an okay-ish final villain. Moral and Drow, they're basically like caricatures of Peach and Zelda. Basically take Peach and Zelda, but turn them into like, not only turn them into like complete other assholes, but also turn them into sluts. And that's basically what you got with them. Like the reason they probably got gangbanged, the reason they got pregnant was they got gangbanged by Hyruleans. I'm pretty sure that's why. And even like their whole are they working with are they good guys or are they bad guys sort of thing kind of crisscrossing back and forth because they're pregnant, so the hormones are out of control, so they're kind of acting unpredictably. I think that makes a lot of sense. Uh, Gino, I think Gino's fine. I think he's acting like he's basically the straight man to everyone. Is kind of what's going on. I like the fact he kind of gets upgraded. He's like, oh no, he's in a toy. No, I'm not a toy. I'm an action figure. And he's like in an upgraded version of his Gino suit. He's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And he's just a complete badass. And on the opposite side of that, you have Daisy, who's just completely ridiculous. Who's like, okay, I'm gonna help you guys. And she's like completely going off the walls, trying to get like all the juicy dirt on like all of Peach and Zelda's like dirty secrets. And she even retrofits like half of her army's military to like reference Nintendo. Like she turns her personal car into the blue fucking Falcon of all things, and then she turns her Air Force into R-Wings. And it's like, and she even like, okay, I'm gonna take you to this place. All right, no, Princess Daisy, you ain't we're not letting you have that. We're keeping you house locked. So under who's gonna overthrow you? It's like, well, okay, under Stars Are Land, Section 8, Subsection 1, Title A, if Stars Are Land, if the current ruler is risking their life, egregiously risking their life for any reason, the people and the government of Stars Are Land can and will, if a supermajority is passed, be able to physically restrain her and keep her from getting involved. So yes, we, the entire country, have overwritten you, and you are not going with them. And it's like, shows what they go, planes lower right inside of them. It's like, oh, motherfucker. Daisy's the source of comedy in this story. Like, she's completely over the top and ridiculous. I love it. And even like her obsession with Nintendo kind of bites her in the back. Where like the ending of the story, like I can even show you because this is just ridiculous. Like right here, should be at the bottom. Yeah, right here. Right here. Oh yeah, right here. Daisy isn't doing so good. She's healthy and safe, but Nintendo is taking up one of the largest lawsuits. Oh yeah, Nintendo is an actual company in the Mushroom Kingdom. I didn't even like the touch when it comes to like Peach's character. Like the only reason Peach is able to constantly pay to repair like Toad Town and stuff like that is because of royalties and like the implication that Daisy pissed off Nintendo that much because I turned your entire Air Force into a Star Fox reference. That Nintendo might have literally sunk their economy. Like I can picture her right now. Daisy, Princess Daisy. She wakes up. She's ready for her day. She and her forces finally did something worthwhile. They saved the world. She goes up. There's a knock on the door. She opens it. There's a literal army of Nintendo ninjas right outside her door. Just staring at her with paperwork. You've been sucked. And then they sink the copy. It's like, what'd I do? You turned your left force into Star Fox. It's like, well, I don't see Fox McCloud. Hey Daisy. Hey Fox. Oh, fuck. It's just so funny, especially when like Daisy just randomly cosplays as like Samus Aran, like the middle at like a convention, and she's like egging like she's deliberately pissing off Peach. She's like, yes, Princess Peach does love bondage. Add it up to my blonde, and that itself turns into a brick joke where like, oh, as like a thank you for like Bowser helping save the world because like for some reason there's like 2 chapters in the third story that are just random references to Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, Ultimate Destruction on the GameCube for whatever reason. I don't know why. And even to like the point, there's like a reference to like the double Hulk boss, but instead of a Hulk fighting him, it's basically like Bowser's idea version of Princess Peach fighting it. Princess Peach kind of turns to Bowser. Is like, okay, Bowser, can you do me a favor? Yes. Can you not tell Mario and everyone about what you do with me without the ropes and the chains? Like, it's like, oh, you mean the bondage? I don't mention that. I was like, you don't mention it. All right. Yes. Hey, do one more thing for me. What? Sign these divorce papers. Oh, come on, man. Do you want to be a mother? Dine him. All right, fine. Fine. It's the particular blend of like out of just fucking nowhere humor and also seriousness that I think that I really like for the Princess of Princess Act 2 and Act 3 that really make it stand out. And that's even with the characters like Daisy and all that. Like each of them having their own rules and supporting where they fall under like in the humor seriousness category. Uh Grammar and sentence structure wise, they're fine. I don't have a problem. Pacing, these are meant to be more fast paced stories. Unlikely Allies kind of suffers from being too fast paced, but Sage Revival and Shiny Majesty are are fine in terms of pacing. They're fast, but they're not. But they're slow enough that they do convey what's going on without rushing things too much. This is just rushing things so that they can get the Zars around. Which kind of ends with how do I recommend the story? Because here's the thing: Sage Arrival and Shiny Majesty are good. Like if it was just these two stories, I say, yeah, I recommend it. It's like they're not going to be for everyone because of like what's going on. Like it might not make sense to anyone who's not paying attention. But then Unlikely Allies is just so horrendous in how it's presenting everything that it just completely throws into question whether or not I recommend this story or not. Because I just, no matter how hard I think, like I can't justify recommending this story, especially since this is 70,000 words. Like you have to get to read through 70,000 words in order for the story to get good. I don't, and if this was a traditional story, I say all right, I can. You have to bite the bullet because like the only reasonable thing the first story sets up is like the premise and like at least to set up maybe one or two minor plot things for later stories. But as an act one of a 3-act story, it really makes it difficult to recommend the trilogy as a whole unless you're willing to bite the bullet on reading Unlikely Allies because you're just not. It's just not that good. You're just better reading these two. So I would say I can't recommend the trilogy if unless you're willing to put up with this story to get to the good stuff. And at least in my opinion, I don't think that's good. That's worth it. It's more. It's more. If you're willing to put up for it, if you're willing to put up with it and get through it, then Sage Revival and Shiny Majesty are good stories. They're not great stories, but they're actually pretty solid, all things considered. Uh, do I have a favorite part? Yes, one of the most hilarious jokes in fan fiction I've ever seen. So this actually happens in this story. I actually find. I need to actually find this. Um, Confessions. I think it's this one, right? No, I can't remember. It's somewhere around. No, wait, it's after this. Yeah, right here. should be this chapter 28. It happens in chapter 28. Basically, there's like a ridiculous premise where like the villain of the first half of the story, because there's like this random guy named Smiley, who's the leader of the 8-bit club, and he's like, I'm just gonna fuck with Princess Peach and Zelda and also the clones. I basically tortures them to like this embarrassing sense of game show. And the final joke is basically Smiley's like, okay, Princess Peach has a chair which has a little hidden compartment, and this is actually supposed to be a callback to Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, which actually has a joke like this where like you can go inside Peach's castle and she finds a chair and you click on it and you say, oh, there's something hidden underneath it. It's like, oh, and it's supposed to be like a sort of sex joke, because it's supposed to imply that Peach has sex toys underneath the box inside the chair. It's something that's also referenced in Super Princess Peach at the end, where it also references sex toys. However, and it carries over in this one. However, instead of sex toys, it said, here is the truth. Here's what's underneath that box. Here's what's in that chair. It's an Xbox. And everyone's like, they can't get you with a copy of Halo 2 that she also voiced it. And like everyone's just saying this like sacrilege, like, she's playing competitors' toys. She was also voicing them. And it's like, it gets even funnier. It's like I'm too depressed. Can you just put on the news? Like I'll put on the news, see if we can find something. And like the news is like full of everyone just complaining, like, this is a tragedy. Princess Peach owns an Xbox. And it's just everyone just shit talking Peach for owning an Xbox. And it's completely over the top and ridiculous. It's like, oh, she's playing Microsoft games. And even better is like she reveals that she not only apparently had a voice role in Halo somewhere, possibly Cortana, but she's like, oh, I also got a role for Halo 2. At like the end of it, to her letter. Let me see if I can find it. It should be at the end. It should be in the letter as well. Yeah, right here. Before all that, though, I need to stop by Neon Heights. Between you and me, I've taken up another voice acting job for Halo 2. I know, I'm asking for trouble. But if it means I get a free copy of the sequel, so be it! I can always cover it up by saying that someone dropped it off with me in Rootport. Which, of course, the deity. I think it's just a random brick joke on top of the Daisy thing that's like, I just love the randomness of like, oh yeah, Peach has an Xbox just because she likes shooters. I like to think that she has like the Halo helmet and she wears it while playing it, and she even gets Zelda to play it too. It's like if you cheer you up, I'll play with you. I'll be sniper. Okay. And it's so goofy because it's just out of nowhere. And it's like that sums up like the weird thing with this. What would I do to change the story? Fix this. Honestly, you could make an argument that the entire trilogy should be rewritten, because if you change this, then you have to change these two as well, because that's kind of like the heart. That's like the thing with 3X stories as well. It's like if you try and change it, then you have to change everything else to try and make everything fit, and that makes things difficult. So it's like, do you want to risk it? Yeah, I even think like if this story and this premise was in like, I'm not like this was adopted by another author and they like say I'm gonna do like a remaster of this, I could unironically see this being like this trilogy being a better off alone tier story. Because I do think it has everything to make it a better off alone tier, and and I really would like to see a remaster of the story, especially for something that's been like near like trilogy that's been like 20 years old. These three stories have held up pretty well. I I think that's a nice place to say to end it, especially since it's about like an hour. I do think these stories, these two more like they are really well done, and I honestly don't really have anything more to say about these stories. I do encourage anyone to read these stories. As always, this has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.